Hello everyone.
Hello.
And welcome to this new Odoo Insider session. Today I'm very pleased to welcome Jürgen as a new let's say presentator for this session, and we'll do a focus today on a very specific topic, which is a newly let's say released payroll localization for Switzerland. Maybe just before starting, I would like to make just a small point about the schedule of the next Odoo Insider session that are coming. So today we'll do the Swiss payroll localization, as I said. Next week, keep in mind that it's a very special regular Q&A session, as you will get a gift, because it's Fabia Pinkars, our CEO, which is going to give the session to you at that moment. And then we come back on the 20th of March with a regular session about some Q&A that you might have. So, as I said, we have, let's say, a new feature to present to you today. And the idea of this session is really to go deeply in the configuration and the use of these new features. And for that, we need to know first what happened. And what happened is that you have now a newly available module that you can install in your database in Odoo. That is called the Swissdec Certified Payroll ELM 5.0 that you can install directly in your database. If you already had, here the first localization that was available, you can simply add it, add the ELM one to your database. If you do not use any one of them for now, you can simply install the ELM one and everything will be installed accordingly. But the thing is that this new module has made possible for Odoo to be certified Swissdec regarding the Swiss payroll, and therefore we had to put in place a lot of things to revamp completely the way the payroll was working for Switzerland. And that's what you can see here on the presentation, with, let's say, the different things that are added, as the insurances, the way of configuring it and creating it, the employees, the contract management as well, going afterwards to the payslip generation and the transmission. I will give soon the speaker to Jürgen, but before starting, I would like just to tell you that we'll do a slightly different regarding the other Odoo Insider session. We'll first go and use, let's say, Odoo and show you how it's going to look like by using the tool, and then we'll go through your questions and see how to answer them in the best way. Jürgen, I give you the hand now. You can show us what it looks like.
So we'll start from a scratch DB, 0 things configured, and we'll go and do the whole payroll flow. So first of all, as Antoine said, we check if we have the right module. So we type Swiss, and we see that everything is correctly installed. So we can go on the payroll app. And as you can see, we changed quite a lot of stuff. We removed the dashboard. We removed a lot of unused menus for Switzerland. So here you have everything you need. The first step will be to, of course, create our employees. So we'll start with a very simple one, Egli Anna, which is born on the 1st January 2000.
Maybe a small tip, can you just zoom a bit so that we see it a bit better?
Thank you,
yes.
Well, that's too much.
Okay, yes, a bit less than. Control
okay,
minus, yeah. But okay, as you want.
Okay. Nationality, we'll do someone that is that has source tax, so French, which has a residence category of annual B permit, subject to source tax, of course. We enter her family information, so single. She divorced on the 1st of January, sadly. Residency. Oops. Résidence Canton Lucerne. And the OFS municipality here.
Maybe a question.
Yes.
About the family, like here for now, you just define, if you come back to this, like the current marital status of of the employee. There is no need to enter, let's say, the past, the past.
No, this is all historized in the backend, so you don't need to specify the past. The system knows it.
Okay,
so if you change, every month everything is historized, so there's no issue with that.
Okay, great.
So we put our personal information, family, and residency. Those are the 3 core steps when you create an employee. If he has source tax, you have to configure it here. So we first have to define the type of scale. So we have the most usual one, the tariff code, with the different tariffs. We have the eligible children for deduction, and the different parameters here, which are church tax, and if the code is specially approved by the tax authorities, which gives us this code A0N. The source tax canton is Luzerne here, and the source tax municipality 1061.
It's computed then. based
Yes.
on the rest.
So those three are automatically computed based on the information. Let's imagine that this person was living in France. Then the source tax relevant canton will be the one from her workplace, but we still haven't defined a workplace, so nothing appears here. So we'll go back to Switzerland. Okay. So in terms of our employee, we have everything set up. We'll create a second one. Mark Frank, which for the sake of easiness is born at the same time. And he is Swiss, which is not subject to source tax. Okay. One little detail, we have this new field employee number, which is a unique identifier for your employee, so that at each transmission, you can kind of assign a number to one employee so that it's always the same between transmissions.
Okay, so the idea is then not to edit it afterwards.
No.
Okay.
You can edit it if you want, but usually it's like a unique identifier for the employee. Right now you have to input it manually, but I think we will add the possibility to automatically make it for you based on the ID or
And
something like that.
if you ever, say by mistake, give 2 times the same number, do you have a...
You will have a
something to-
warning
Okay,
like this.
great.
We cannot have 2 times the same unique ID.
It seems easy to configure here the employees, but still you decided not to put any required fields
Yeah.
on the model. We'll see afterwards why, but that's also
Yes.
the idea of, let's say, not being stuck when you configure
Yes.
the employee
So
if you miss one information.
In the previous version, the fields were kind of hidden everywhere. Nobody knew where to go. So here you have everything that you need, and no field is useless here. So if at some point you have to fill something, you will not get blocked, you will not get a warning, but at the moment you try to close your payroll of the month, you will get the warnings regarding different employees that says, okay, this person is missing this information, please fill it. We'll see that later. So that was the easy part, the fun part. Now we go on the funniest part, the insurance configuration. But first we have to configure 2 things. The work locations, so the main entity, the main work address of the company. Here we'll just do 1. So either give the BUR RE number or an in-house ID if you have an accord with the OFS BFS. So we'll just do 1, 2, 3 here.
An agreement then.
An agreement with the OFS. Thank you, Antoine.
Okay, so just once again to make it clear, as you said, so the work address can be useful if, let's say, the employee is not located in Switzerland.
Yes. So if an employee, for example, lives in France, he's subject to source tax. So his source tax canton will be the one of his workplace. So here, Luzerne will be his source tax canton if he didn't live in Switzerland. So here we tell the normal working hours of the office. Second step, we have to configure the wage statement. So this is in France, the certificat de salaire. Here we define a global profile for the whole company. You can create multiple ones, but usually it's just one. We
Yes.
call it main company.
The idea is to
profile.
get a template.
Yes, exactly. It's a
Be
template.
reused.
And we'll just take these two for the sake of simplicity, but you have everything required to really say what benefits does an employee have. Here we created it, so we can add it to our employees. So this is Egli Anna. And we choose the template that we just created. And here it retakes all the information. But you can have specificities for each employee. And you can say, for example, here she has 3,000 francs of relocation costs paid by the company.
Yes, and this setup is then specific to this employee. Yeah. I see a message in the chatter, which is related to what we do here, but at least what you did just previously with the workplace, I think, when you defined it. Can you come back to the workplace definition?
Yeah.
Yes, work location. The field in the top right corner, Bureau number. What is it, and how can they know where to find it?
So this is something that is, I'm honestly not sure where you can find it, but each workplace normally is assigned this number. I know this is only mandatory for the statistic declaration. So if you're not doing statistic declaration, we will soon remove the requirements on those fields. So you will be able to leave it empty soon if you don't do statistics. So if you don't have that number, don't worry. In the next update, we'll remove the required constraint here.
Okay.
Okay, what we have here is also the wage type. So here you can see all the different wage types of your company with all the different bases in terms of what insurance is it subject to, so AVS, LA, and so on. So if you want to find, for example, a wage type, you can just search for it here.
I think this page is quite important also, and if you want to investigate a bit how the tool is working and see if it corresponds to what you expect as well. I know in the search bar it's a bit like you can, when you type it, I think you can find, and you can search on different criteria.
Yes, for example, if we search for car, we will see all the relevant wage types related to cars. For example, the private share of company car. Well, here it's not related to car, but you get the idea.
I have maybe a question here because, I mean, so what we have in front of us is a salary rule, basically from the standard payroll module. But still, here we see that we cannot, let's say, create new wage types. And I think it's not also, let's say, suggested to edit them. Am I right?
You're right. Like we are certified, so the idea here is that the user should not be able to add or remove wage types. So if we see that someone really needs one, if we get a lot of feedbacks about a specific wage type that's not present, we will, on our side, implement it here for you. So now let's get down to the insurances. We will start with the LAA, in German UWG. So we have 3 mandatory fields: the insurance number, your customer number, and the contract number. And here, if you've used the previous versions, we cannot change how you create your LLA solution. So before you had to create manually each type of solution, so A0, A1, A2, A3. Now we just have to create one group. So here our group will have these values. So this is the occupational part, which is paid by the company. And here you have the non-occupational part, which is paid either fully by the employee or 50% by the company, or, as I've got this question often, 100%. But if it's paid 100% by the company, this is not configured here. I'll show you later how to make it 100. Now we go with our LPP, BVG in German.
Are all of them mandatory, or is it possible to generate the payslip, let's say, without some of the insurances?
I think AVS, the CAF, LA, and LPP are mandatory, and LAC, EGM are optional. But correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah? There might be like some special cases where you don't have an LA, or but it's very specific cases. So here we can create our codes for the LPP if you have some, if you have an agreement with your insurance. Now that we did LA LPP, we'll create our AVS. And we just need to input the member number, the LA that we just created, the validity date of this one, the LPP that we just created, and the validity date. The rates are all pre-configured by Odoo, since those are common to every AVS. So you don't need to configure anything here.
Are they supposed to change, I don't know, like on a yearly basis, for example?
No, this will be automatically updated every year and every change by Odoo.
Okay. I see, just before you go to the next point, an answer from Roger in the chatter, which is telling us about the way of getting, let's say, then, a way maybe to get the BUR number by contacting here, so a specific email address, or going to a specific web page. So pretty interesting if you want to maybe test that. Just check the answer of Roger on LinkedIn to see what he proposed.
Thank you, Roger. So we just did the main ones. I forgot the CAF, just the FCF, which is the same as our AVS. And we'll add here our company rate at 0.5. Here you see an employee rate. This is only valid for the Valais canton. So most of the other, all the other cantons will have 0 here. Let's go with the LAC, or UVGZ for Germans. And here, a bit more complicated than LA, but still pretty straightforward. We will create 2 solutions, one going from 0 to 200,000. And we'll create a second solution, which is A2, that will go from 200,000 to 500,000, which is the insured wage, yearly wage, of course. And the EGM, or KTG in German, will be exactly the same. They are really analogous to each other. So we'll do A1, 0 to 200,000. Here, usually for the EGM, you might have some differences in the male and female rate. And here we'll go from 200,000 to 500,000. Okay, so we're good for the insurances.
Great.
Any remarks, Antoine, about that?
I think it's pretty clear. It's just that, of course, I know that some questions that I already got from clients or partners on that topic was, okay, I don't exactly know what kind of format maybe the different fields expect.
Yes.
And I think you already told me once that there is no, let's say, one format that is available. So it's really something that they should check with the insurance. And
if you want to check insurance codes, you can go on swissdec.sh, destinataire de données, and here you can have the list of all the insurances that are Swissdec certified that are ready to receive data through Swissdec. So you have their name and their code and what different insurances they are. For example, here, what I just put was the AVS for Luzerne. And you can search the same for insurance for LA, CGM, and LPP. If your insurance is not there, it means that it is not Swissdec certified and that it cannot receive data, but you can still put it here and generate paper reports to send them. So it's not an issue.
I think from a general point of view, maybe having, let's say, the Swissdec website in the favorites, it's a good idea
Yes,
to
it's a good
usually
idea.
come back to this and make sure that you have the right information. Great. Okay. So here the insurances are configured, the employee as well. What would be the next step?
The next step, as we saw, we have one employee that is subject to source tax in Luzerne. So we need to inform in the system our source tax institutions. So here we have the ACI Luzerne. And you need to ask your ACI your DPI number. We just put it here and we're gone. One last step is to import the tax rates from this canton. So this is a new feature that I love. Before you were to do this, you had to do a manual import, go on the website, download the zip file, extract, put the TXT. That was a nightmare. Now we added the automatic import. So you can choose to import every canton or import one single canton.
Which is faster, of course.
Which is faster. Import every canton will take 4 or 5 minutes, depending on your internet, of course. So we import Luzerne. And we're good to go. Did I forget anything? No, I think we should be good. Okay.
Great.
So this was the first 2 steps of setup. Now we have to set up our employees' remuneration. So we will create them contracts. So a contract is an entry in the company. We'll do Egli Anna 80%. The start date, she entered earlier this year. Her workplace, which is the defined workplace. Her type of contract, so you have a choice between these ones. And we'll do a permanent contract with monthly salary and put her at 80% work rate. And here we define how she's paid. So she has a monthly wage of 8,000. Then you have other information such as the job position, for example. We'll do here comptable. Holidays that she's entitled if she was at 100% work time rate. So we leave 2010. If she has the right to a 13th month, here we will say yes. And the contractual rate of this 13th month.
Great. So, I mean, this is pretty easy indeed to, once again, there are checkboxes and drop-down lists, so it's pretty easy to configure. But I think people need to also understand that it has a lot of impact as well afterwards on the generation of the payslip as well. I know you already told me, for example, that you to have access to some, let's say, wage types and computation in the payslip. You need to be, for example, in some case in hourly wage, because these, some wage types are related to hourly wage, some are related to monthly wage as well. So it's important, yes, to probably set up, this page especially, I think.
Yes. For example, the 13th month, if you are on a hourly wage, will get paid each month, but it's a different wage type from the 13th month of the monthly wage. So, and you can, of course, select multiple ones. Insurance will put the ones that we just created. And here you can see the LA solution type. So if you are in the case where the company pays 100% of the non-occupational part, you would select here these two. So she's occupational and non-occupational insured without deductions, meaning that the company pays for everything. Her different LASA insurances, you can put up to 2. Same for the EGM.
Even if the wage is not, let's say, part of the second range?
Yes, I mean, it's just if one time she has, for example, a big bonus or a big commission and she gets over that, the second solution will take over that part of the wage.
So it's probably better than to always select, as much insurance as possible.
I mean, depends on the policy of the employee. So it's when she's or he in the company, it's decided that she will have these 2 insurances for that. Or LPP. And here we can define the LPP contributions per month for the company and for the employee. I know I will get the question, can I put a percentage? When is LPP in percentage gonna come? It's coming. Just be patient.
There is a switch as well, not no for these values there on the right. Aren't they computed in a way?
Yes, but the percentage is not a simple percentage of the gross. It's a bit.
Okay, that's
It's
right.
a bit more complicated to compute, but it's coming. And the new feature of this version, which I found amazing, is this tab. You will spend a lot of time in this tab, which is the monthly wage types. So we saw here the basic wage, so the monthly or hourly, but you can also define monthly recurring wages, such as, for example, as I showed earlier, private share of the company car, an amount, and of course we have to rededuct it. So deduction, private portion of company car, 400. This is like the equivalent of the ATN in Belgium.
Also interesting to note that here, I mean, you always put the amount in a positive way because I mean,
Yes.
the fact that this is positive or negative is inside the wage type itself,
Exactly.
deduction, or if it is an allowance. Yeah.
Exactly. So this will automatically be treated as a deduction. And you can also put an additional description here that will appear on the payslip. So if I put ABC, ABC will appear on the payslip. If you don't put anything, the default line will be this one, this name.
Mhm.
Now, other things we can do with this is handle cantonal deductions. For example, in Genève, we have la mat, or is it called something else? Whatever, you get the idea. And here, as you see, the unit changed, so we have a percentage. We can also put the employer part. And here, every month, this employee will get deducted 0.4% of his AVS salary, meaning basically his gross salary. So it's just a generic way of putting specific cantonal deductions that are not described by the Swissdec standard, and that you can put yourself here depending on your canton, or if you have also some specific deductions that depend on your convention collective, or how do we say that in English? Convention collective?
It's a social secretary, but yeah, it's.
I think people get the idea. So, what do I have an example of that? Niveau, for example, PC famille. We could do that. So I'll remove that here.
I have a question maybe here because I mean to me that you said that is pretty important is that those wage types are going to be taken into account every month.
Yes.
Is there a way to let's say then compute or let's say configure a wage type that's only going to be applied for a specific period of time?
Great question. This is also a new feature. I mean, not a new feature, but we made it easier to create. So if you want to make a wage type, for example, a commission, only applied on March, you go to this new button, one-time payments, which prompts you to a calendar view. And here you can select the month where you will input your wage type. So here, commission, she earned 5,000 francs. And of course, always the additional description that replaces the name on the payslip if you wish to. And you have here on the right a resume of everything for the year.
Okay, great.
Okay, I think we're done with Anna.
Is it needed to put the contract in running stage?
That's a very good remark. I mean, there is a cron that will run every once and then that will put every contract that has quote unquote started based on the date. But if you want to do it immediately and create payslips immediately, you can click running immediately. But if you wait a bit and you don't have to create your payslips on the second, the cron will automatically schedule new, running, and expired.
Yes, and it also allows you to create, let's say, contract for your future employees that are
Yes.
starting next month
Exactly.
earlier, and then you just wait for the cron.
So for example, I could do a new contract for a new employee on the 1st of April,
Yeah.
let it in new, and on the 1st of April, it will get on running automatically. So let's do it for Mark. So Mark will be an hourly employee on the same workplace, started at the same date. His job position is informaticien. And we select permanent contract with salary hourly. He has an hourly wage of 50 francs per hour. And here we see these 3 new fields that pop. So we have the holiday compensation rate, we have the public holiday compensation, and we have this new feature that says, do we want to pay this holiday compensation every month? For example, there are some conventions collectives that say, we do not want to pay it every month, but we want to accumulate it in an account. So if you're in that case, you can simply untick this box, and the holiday compensation will be accumulated in a special account, and you will see at the bottom of the payslip the current accumulated amount. And when you decide to pay them, then it will be, of course, subtracted from the available amount. Insurances, we do the same thing. Here we will try paid 100% by the company. We will only give in one solution. And of course, since he's an hourly employee, you might ask, how do I pay his hours? So here of course, we have a new wage type, which is, again, if you look at the unit, it's not francs, it's not percentage, but it's now hours. And you can decide to pay an amount of hours. So here we do recurring 160 hours per month. Or you could decide, of course, like I said earlier, to pay special amount of hours on special months. So, or overtime, of course. You have 3 different types of hours. You have the paid hours, you have the paid overtime at 100% rate, and the paid overtime at 125% rate. And this will, of course, the rate will be calculated on the payslip based on your hourly rate. So let's not do that for now. We'll just add paid hours, and we'll add him, what can we add as?
There is a way now to make some vacation compensation for people in hourly wage.
That's what I explained here.
So
the vacation compensation is here. I mean, it's called holiday. Maybe we should rename it to vacation to make it more explicit, but
no,
it's
okay.
here. Okay, I think we are good for Mark. Let me check everything. Yes.
Yes, I think you can just put it in running as well, and then we go.
Very good remark, Antoine. Okay, now we are ready to run payslips. How do we do that? So we added this new little button that makes life very easy. So this will generate a batch based on these criteria. So here, if we select January, we can input a name, but you don't have to. Let's do January. 25. And we have these different filters. So you can filter on the employee. So if I do that, a payslip will only be made for Egliana. If I leave it empty, it will be for every employee that had a running contract in January. Yes?
But what if I select Egliana, but I take the workplace, yes, master.
If you take another workplace that Egliana doesn't work to, just no payslips will be generated since no match will be found.
Okay, so it needs to meet all the criteria to make sure to, okay.
So if we leave everything empty, it will just create a batch for every employee of the company that has a running contract at this time. You can also choose on the batch if you want to pay the 30th month now or not.
It's for then the monthly wage contract? Or
the hourly wage will be automatically paid, but if you want to pay the 13th month for your monthly wages, you have to tick this box. Okay, let's go for January.
To me, that's really nice because if you remember, like in Odoo Standard, you need to go then from the work countries menu, which here doesn't really make sense. And also when you get a lot of employees, I mean, this menu can also be a bit less performing. So this tool is really nice, I think, and that's a very easy way then to generate the payslip for a certain month.
Okay, let's look at our payslips. So we have here a list view of everything, and we can check individually what's going on for our employees. So we see the monthly wages, the basic wages. We are with Egli Anna, which had an 8,000 franc wage per month. We see it here, and of course all the other inputs that we showed earlier. We can print it to check what it looks like. This is not really good in full screen.
Yes, you need to.
And here's the payslip of Egli Anna.
So yes, you can print it even before you just confirm it. You need to make sure that it's properly computed.
Okay, so before our payslips had quite a lot of colors, and people were saying, this is too much colors. Now we decided to go full gray and black, and now usually people tell us this is too gray and black. So it's hard to find a common point with clients, but with time we'll manage to find something beautiful for everyone. But I think this is pretty sober, pretty nice for a payslip.
Yeah, it does the job. I have a question still. I mean, we are in front of people who like maybe to go a bit into customization and development. Is it possible, while we are still certified Swissdec, to, I don't know, edit, the report and
if you are
change the
good,
layout?
if you are good with XML, if you know how to code, you can go on the XML of this payslip and change the layout as you like. So it's possible. It's not an issue. It's possible. Okay, let's go back to our database. Okay, so here is the payslip of Eliana. Let's see the payslip of Mark. And as I told earlier, here I have no warnings because I did everything correctly. But let's imagine that I had forgotten to put something, for example, the nationality. You will see on the payslip this new feature that says missing nationality. So you will know once this pops on your payslip, this means that a mandatory field that is required will need to get filled. So if you click it, it will redirect you to the relevant model, and you will be able to put, what was his nationality? Was it
Switzerland, I
Swiss?
think.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And you put it, and the warning disappears. And we can see here his hourly salary with the base, which is his
That's the hourly wage.
basic hourly wage.
Yeah.
The factor, which is the number of hours, and you could, of course, flexibly here add overtime. For
Yes.
example, 20 hours of overtime.
So it's still possible to have this flexibility
Yes.
once it is generated to modify some values.
I mean, the contracts and define all the different possible values, define what should be the normal values, but once on the payslip, you also have the possibility to edit anything you like. Of course, you could also add other inputs, like other specific wage types. So you have 3 chances to add a new wage type on the contract, on recurring wages, on the one-time payments, and on the payslip itself.
Mhm.
Okay, so now we can validate our badge and mark it as paid. We check that everything is validated. Okay, now a more complicated case. We want to do our February batch. But the thing is that Egli Anna didn't tell me the truth. She obtained her C permit on January. This means that she was not subject to source tax in January. How can we correct that? Well, we first define setlet here. And on the source tax page, we will do a correction. We assign her the code not subject to source tax. We validate it, and we will create a source tax correction. So this is very easy to do. You go on transmission, source tax correction, create a new one, Egli Anna, reason C permit withdrawal. This is a correction by the DPI, donc in correction by us. You can choose to either make it a manual correction, so it looks like this. You choose the wrong payslip, and you have all the values. If you are good at math and at source tax, you can do everything yourself. But we also have now this automatic correction method. You choose the relevant payslip, save, the reason for the correction. So this is the withdrawal C permit. And it is valid as of January. So this is a retroactive correction of source tax. Let's see what it looks like when we make a new batch.
Indeed, because for now we see it is pending the correction.
Yes.
So, it's
So you
waiting
have
for
3
something.
states. You have it in draft. So this will have no impact. You confirm it. It is pending. So on the next payslip, it will be added to the payslip. And once the payslip is paid, it will be confirmed. Let's do the example. February. We create our batch. And we check Egli Anna. Let's print it. And what do we see? Source tax adjustment, which is a refund of what she paid last month. And if you want to look at the details, you can go on this tab of the payslip, which are the technical lines, and you will see all the corrections that were performed for this month. So here, the previous amount was cancelled, and the new amount was inputted here, which is 0. And this is where the correction comes from, this minus 982 that you saw on the payslip. Okay, we validate and we mark as paid. So that's basically how the whole flow works for the employees. That was the part of employee contract and insurance. Now we will look at the juicy part, the transmission, where you transmit data to the different institutions through Swissdec. And you have here all the different reports. So the first one is the EMA declaration, which is where you declare your entries, withdrawals, and mutations. So if I do it for January, so they all look the same. You have a year, a month, and these different options, which has if it's a test transmission or if it's a replacement of a previous declared salary. You have the different insurances that you are transmitting to, and you have a preview of what is being transmitted. So here you have Egli Anna and Mark Frank for this month. And all you have to do is to declare the salary. Then you have this page, which is the declaration itself. You have a trace of the declaration in the XML format, so everything is recorded. If you need assistance with that, you get the status of the declaration, and we see here the 3 institutions that we transmitted to. And you have different possible actions. So if you're familiar with Swissdec, you know what these are. You also have notifications. So those are messages that are sent by the institution. And if we look at the AVS, for example, if we get the result, we see here that some insurances, when you declare an entry, will generate you a proof of insurance for your employee. Odoo handles that with this button, generate proof of insurance. And you see here that it's automatically generated here. Since it's the Swissdec test server, this is like a fake employee. So if it was a real database, you would see a smart button here with all the generated proof of insurances that are automatically sent by email and posted on the Documents app.
Okay, impressive. I have maybe a question for that. I mean, is it like, it's then some kind of integration that we have? Is it something that they need to pay for? Like, is it, do they have credits, to send declaration and so on? Or is it part of the
This is part of the whole package. So if you pay for the standard Odoo subscription, you will have access to everything that is posted here.
Great.
Same thing for the source tax declaration. So in January, we saw this data. We have only Egli Anna that is subject to source tax, and you can see a pre-visualization of what is being transmitted. You can also generate the report that is here, which is the standard Swissdec source tax report over here. If we look at what happened in February, we had a source tax correction. And of course, this is all transmitted as well. So you have a reversed month here for January with the old amounts and the new amounts that are communicated to the institution.
And I guess that's why you have also this option of the replacement declaration at the top.
Yes.
That's because you made do a
No, here in
correction.
this case, for source tax, when you make a correction, it is always
For the next
applied for the next month,
Okay,
and you
great.
transmit what was wrong and what was corrected, and the reason for that corrections. And you also have an impressive feature here with source tax. I don't know if I'll be able to show it since it's the test. I don't think I'll be able to show it here, but there is a feature where the institution that you transmit to, that this institution receives the data, and it itself can check if there was a mistake. So here the institution might say to you that this person was not subject to source tax, and that a correction is needed. I really want to show it to you, but I have to set up something. If we go here,
Don't try to reproduce it at home.
you don't have access to that, so you won't be able to. So is this for January? Yes. Okay, look at the details. Here, for example, we have the case where the institution automatically detected that she was not subject to source tax. So you have in the notification here, so this is the response. You have in the response in German that Frau Egli was not subject to source tax, and the suggested correction. So the old code is this, with these amounts, and under it, the new code. Okay, this is another case, but you get the idea. So here it would have been a correction bit of A0N to A3N with the new amounts, and you can directly import these corrections. So these will create here a new correction made by the ACI. You can also download, you can also download the verified source tax statement that describes this whole PDF, that makes a PDF about all the corrections that were made by the institution itself. Here it doesn't work since it's the test server, so we don't have access to that. You also have the statistic declaration, for example, for January, with all the employees, and you can of course always visualize what you're transmitting before the transmission. Something else, the yearly declarations now. This is the most interesting one. And you have all your institutions. You can download all the different reports, so or AVS report, or the LRA report. And also, the most beautiful one, the salary certificate, which is directly generated in Odoo with our beautiful signature here, which is made by Odoo, and you have everything here. Here's the button to generate a global PDF with all the wage statements, and here's the button to send it to each individual employee. So I clicked send wage statements, it creates two of them here, and this will automatically be posted on the document portal of the employee. And same stuff, you can declare the salary, get the status, and you see all the different responses of the institutions. We also have the LPP early year report. So here it will calculate an LPP basis. You can of course change this amount since the calculation might maybe not take into account a future commission that will be paid or a future recurring wage that will be paid. That might reflect reality better. And you can declare salary here, get the status, get the result. And the insurance will provide you with the relevant contributions for these employees. And those can be automatically imported through this button and written on the contract of the employee.
Because that's what we discussed just earlier with the rate incoming. But for now, it's the absolute value that you have.
This is mostly useful for employees that are paid by month, so that their contribution don't really change. So this can be used for them. But for hourly employees, it's a process that is a bit more difficult. I know that Swissdec is is remaking the whole LPP process transmission. So maybe in the future version, this will be handled a bit more cleanly, because LPP right now is a bit hard to handle on Swissdec. But on the, I think, the minor version 5.4 that we will do, this will be handled better through Odoo. So I think we did the whole tour of everything.
Great, it's true. We could go in the reporting as well, but I mean, this part is pretty basic and it's simply for...
It's the same as what existed before. You have the monthly summary of your wage types and the individual accounts for the company and by employee. You have also this new report, which is beautiful. It's a pivot view of the payslip lines. I know that every time I go on the customer database, people go on Studio and add this manually. We decided to add it now in standard, where you have every single line grouped by month of the total. You could also search by employee, for example.
Yeah. Yes, or filter on a specific employee. And
you have for each employee their respective things, and you can also insert them in a spreadsheet, of course, if it works.
Yes. No, but yes, I mean, you're right. That's something that we do indeed a lot on payroll project, not only for Switzerland, but for other projects, and that's good that for now it is part of the standard. I see that we received a lot of questions in the chatter. I propose to make still a short break, that we can, of course, maybe read them beforehand, and then we come back to you and we answer all the questions during the second part of this live. Thank you. Hi again. So now it's time for the Q&A. So we have, let's say, listed all the questions that we received since the beginning of the of the session. And the first one from Anas on LinkedIn. Yes, the municipality number is not known. Where to find it? And the BRE number is unknown by most SMEs. I think this point we got an answer in the chatter from Roger at the beginning of the session that you can find then on LinkedIn. That was explaining that you can contact an email address and a website to see what are the values that you have for your corresponding company. Then next question from Jeremy on LinkedIn as well.
Yes, which is kind of related to the previous one. So I know this municipality is hard to find, and this is something that I'm working on. I will add the autocomplete based on the zip number, the city, and the canton. So this is something coming in the next few weeks, where the municipality you will have autocomplete suggestions for it. So this will make everyone's life easier. It will be in the employee and it will be in the work locations as well here. So the chances of mistake are greatly reduced.
Great. Okay. Next question from Thierry on LinkedIn. In French, maybe we'll ask a question in French and see if you can answer it in English. We'll see. But comment devons-nous saisir les retraites anticipées et les cotisations CCT, convention collective de travail?
So again, this is something that I explained here. So if you have to do a percentage deduction for a CCT that is generic, you do it through here. So here we would have to do retraite anticipée, and you put a percentage here. Or if you need to put a fixed amount, you do it either through joint commission or joint national commission. And here you can have fixed deductions that appear every month in francs. So everything that is proper to a CCT or a canton is done through this thing and the joint commission.
Okay, great. Next question from Nancy on LinkedIn. Does the wage statement be printed as a federal template? Employees need this for their annual
I think I
tax
showed this here.
declaration. Yeah.
I show this here. Here is the template, which is the exact same as the federal one, with the QR code that is compliant, of course.
And so it is linked with the wage statement that we defined at the beginning?
Yes, this is linked with this thing. This thing or defined on the employee itself.
Yeah. Yes, because this one is a template. Okay, great, very clear. Next question from Samuel on LinkedIn as well. I say that everything changed and it's practically a whole new module. It even impacts the HR employee page. Can you tell us what happened when we installed this plugin on an already configured instance? Well, that's, the purpose of this. What you set up in that case was to be able to install this new ELM module above the existing one, let's say without losing the data that are already configured. Of course, you need to adapt it and make sure that it's that you integrate everything that we explained today. But yes, of course, you can install it above, let's say, the existing module that we have in the past. Just note, for example, that I got a question from a partner who was telling me, yes, I installed the ELM module. I tried to compute again my payslip that was in draft, and it doesn't work. I don't see any difference. Of course, that's because the payslip that was generated before was still linked to the previous way of computing the payslip. So it's probably better in that case to delete the batch and start again to make sure to integrate all the changes from the new module at that moment.
I know this is kind of annoying, maybe, that we changed so much stuff, but we really had no choice to make it certified. We had to almost start from scratch. So to have something clean, we had to do some cleaning up. So we removed a lot of stuff, but I think it is better now. I hope so. And if you add, for example, other modules, normally it shouldn't break stuff. I made it such that you still have, for example, HR settings. You have your time off approvers, you have your attendance approvers and things like that. So it's normally still integrated well with other applications.
Yes, but still with the idea that you can use payroll as it is by its own without having to integrate it with your other apps, but you can. That's right. Next question from Guillaume. Very important question that you receive, I think, a lot of times. Donc, comment activer l'envoi vers Swissdec? Il y a toujours un message d'erreur. Il s'affiche lorsqu'on veut effectivement faire la transmission. So yes, a message appearing when you try to make the transmission on real database with Swissdec.
Yes, so this was a little issue with our ERP server. So This is the server that will handle the transmission. And there's always some delay between when you merge something in enterprise and you merge in EAP, because EAP is it's a really sensitive repo, so we have to make everything perfect. So this will get fixed this week, hopefully. So from Monday, you should be able to translate data.
Perfect. Good news. Next question from Jeremy on LinkedIn. Is it possible to have a list of insurance companies and their insurance code directly integrated into the system? This would help us to fill in the information more quickly and avoid errors.
I agree. We could also add the autocomplete for insurances, like we did for, like I will do for municipalities. So maybe that's a really good point. I will register that in my head, and maybe we'll add autocomplete for insurances as well.
I think in that case, the kind of question that you need to think of is first, the complexity, but also maybe like, is it going to not stuck people? I don't know, in some cases. I know the autocomplete could be also
autocomplete will just be like suggestions.
Yeah,
so
okay.
It will not be a selection with default values. It will just be a helper to help you fill things out a bit easier. For example, the name or the insurance code, so that people do not make mistakes. But this is like this is quality of life improvements that we will gradually add as we get feedbacks from people.
Perfect. Next question from Atef on YouTube. J'aurais aimé que employer part soit flexible de 0 à 100% et pas limité à deux choix. So yes, on that part, the fact
Yes,
that you had
here
to
we have 0 or 50. But as I said, if you want to make it 100, this is a different type of LR solution. This is not really related to the insurance contract itself, but it is related to the policy towards that employee. So you define it here. So it makes a solution of type 2, which is both insurance for occupational and non-occupational without deductions. So everything is paid for by the company.
Great. But I think maybe the question was, like maybe be able to choose 15% or 16%. Is it something that makes sense or not?
So, for example, 33.
Yes.
I didn't really encounter this case, but if it's really an issue and if a lot of people are in this case, we can adapt it as well. But I'm not sure I've ever encountered a case where it's like 60-40 or 70-30.
Okay, so
I have to look into it.
Maybe mention it in the starter if you are in that
Yeah.
situation. It's interesting for us to get that kind of feedback. Okay, next question from Solst2 on Twitch. How are the rates from AHV ALV changed by Odoo each year?
So this will be a... Oops. This will be... there will be a cron that will run periodically and fetch all the different changes. For example, but this is only relevant for AVS, for instance, that will add, for example, in 2026, if the rate ever changes. Oops. That will add here a new rate. For example, they decide to make it more expensive. It will look like that. So if you make a payslip on this time, it will take these rates into account. Something that I forgot, administration fees for your AVS are defined here in this third column.
That's something that is pretty basic in Odoo, the fact that you have some weekly updates of database. And of course, so this kind of changes can be done at that moment as well. Great. Then question from Thierry on LinkedIn. LPP, j'ai compris que les taux différents vont arriver. Est-ce qu'il est prévu que nous puissions saisir des montants différents entre employés et employeurs?
Of course, you can just decide here to pay 500 employee contribution and 700 company contribution. So it's not an issue.
Yes, it is already possible. Okay, next question on Twitch. I don't have the menu generate batches in my database. How can I activate this possibility?
If we're talking about this thing, normally you should have it if you have the right module. So if you go here and type Swissdec and you have this installed, it should appear normally on your database. But if it's still not the case, maybe submit a support ticket and we will look into it.
Yes, and if you are, let's say, in a Then on without the Swiss case and you are in a different country, of course the menu will be different. Then you need to go in batches and click on generate a new batch to then get your batch a bit different. Okay, then from Guillaume on LinkedIn, I understood last week that modules updates happen each Monday. Could you publish release notes about this update?
Yes, this is a very good point. I think we will add, first of all, we will publish the documentation soon on Odoo/documentation. And I think in this part, we could maybe add a tab with release notes that say all the quality of life and all the improvements that are made weekly. So we will also add that.
That's a question that we get a lot also, not only on Swiss, but also on different topics. So yes, we'll try to keep you updated as much as possible on that topic. Great. Then next question from Thierry on LinkedIn. Et le paiement des heures supplémentaires à 150%, I think what you mean is, can we have some flexibility in the rate?
No, I think he's saying that the wage type might be missing.
Yeah.
So that could be true. I think because it was not in the list provided by Swissdec officially, but like I said, if I get a lot of feedbacks about a missing wage type, we can very easily add it, and on updates we'll receive it as well. So we could add this 150% wage type.
But what they should not do is maybe create them by themselves.
No, because they won't be able to. Unless, of course,
they are a bit tricky and
they are very good with computers. They could do it, but normally you shouldn't be able to.
Okay, next question from Olivier on LinkedIn. And what about on-call contracts? I mean, an on-call employee, he records hours on projects and is remunerated according to the hours spent. Is there a link between project and employee? And payroll then, in a more general way?
This is like the 5th time that I get a feedback to make a link between timesheets and payroll. And we would like to, but as of now, it was not on our priority list. But now that we released everything and the payroll is good, we will start doing the different integrations with the different apps possibly, such as timesheets or attendance. So this is something that will come hopefully in the future to avoid, of course, doing manual encoding of hours every time, which I know is annoying. This will get hopefully improved in the future.
Also, I think that's because we need to find the right way of doing it. If you just take into account the timesheet, it depends also on what the people are timesheeting. Like, is it should they be paid on the billable hours or not? And so yes, I think this is why we need to find the right solution to do that.
It's a tricky thing to do. It's a tricky thing. It's always tricky to automate stuff magically because most of the time it will not fit every context for every company. So we have to find a way that is generic and flexible enough to be able to do it cleanly.
Okay, and then next question from Thierry on LinkedIn. Si j'ai bien compris, les retraites populaires et CCT se saisissent dans les monthly wage type, soit sur chaque employé. N'y a-t-il pas un risque d'erreur conséquent s'il faut aller le changer sur chaque collaborateur?
There is a risk. There is a risk, of course, up until 18.2, where we added, I don't think it's in this database, I mean 18, but in 18.2 you have contract templates, and contract templates allow you to make a generic contract where you can define, for example, one contract for everyone, and on this contract you will be able to add these monthly wage types, for example, for each CCT deduction. And on the contract itself, of course this is not in this version, it's in the next one, you will have a field update from template or something like that, where you select your template and it will populate all your different wage types with what you predefined. So sadly we couldn't do it in 17 because it was a generic change in payroll itself, but if you update to the next version, you will get contract templates that will allow you to predefine all the good rates so that chances of mistakes are reduced.
I have a question. Is this table, this one-to-many field, a copied field? If I duplicate my contract, is it going to copy as well the monthly wage types or not?
We can try.
No. But
Well,
I mean,
right now it is not copied, but
it could be.
this is something that can be a constraint that can be removed.
And also, I mean, because of course I see it from my, let's say, project implementator point of view, but in that case, what you could do as well is just to import those values and make sure that in that case, because of course your file will be consistent, it's a way when you launch your payroll to make sure that all the values are properly set up rather than making it manually. So it's also a way to do it. Okay, then question from Nadine on LinkedIn. Si le taux calculé pour l'impôt à la source n'est pas correct et que nous avons besoin d'ajouter une correction sur le mois en cours avant de valider la fiche de paye, avons-nous la possibilité de faire la correction directement?
So right now, no, it is not possible to correct yourself because usually it's not wrong. I mean, things are calculated, should be calculated properly. So what you could do, a possibility, could be in these technical lines to go on and modify them yourself, but this is of course dangerous to do since you have to be really an expert to calculate this properly, and you could do and modify all those manually and of course edit the payslip lines as well. But for source tax corrections, usually if the rate is not correct, it means that your personal information that you put in was not correct. So I would first check your personal informations that everything was input correctly, because a lot of things have influence on the source tax. Your occupation rate has an influence on the source tax. Your place has an influence. You also have all these parameters such as the work days in Switzerland. You have this other employment field that tells if you are working elsewhere in percentage or in gross. If you are an hourly employee, it depends on so many stuff that usually if your rate is wrong, it means that your information is wrong, or that the system that you're using to calculate the rate is too simple and is not taking everything into account. So we always have to be mindful of that. But as I said, right now, it's not really possible to correct on the current month for source tax, but if we get enough feedback of this, if we have a lot of specific cases where corrections are needed, maybe we can introduce a way to input, for example, the rate manually.
Yes, I think you're right in the way that, as Nadine explained, like she's still in the validation of the payslip. Nothing is confirmed yet. So yeah, I think just making sure that the input values are correct is the first way of proceeding. All right, next question from Jeremy on LinkedIn. For accounting purposes, is it possible to change the general accounting account number per line without having to enter the configuration?
What do we mean by that?
The thing is that, yeah, in my opinion, like you need to go in the configuration in a way to be able to, let's say, first check the account and second try to adapt it accordingly. But yes, what you can see here and what you see for now is indeed that to each wage type in your database, you have indeed a debit and credit account coming from your accounting setup. And I mean, is it possible? Is it allowed to change?
Yeah, your account has no impact on the pay. So this is like if you have another chart of accounts, or if you have a custom accounts for your database, you could just go and select your accounts here for debit and credit. So it's not an issue for that. But it's in the configuration. So I don't know what is meant by without going in the configuration, but it should be possible to change them. Yeah.
I guess which types is something that we can import then. We cannot import again the file if you want to update it through an Excel file, for example.
I'm not sure how it works. Can you import without creating?
No, I think you need to have the access, the create access right.
So this is not really doable like this, but maybe this way it can be changed. No.
And if you click, just to try, if you click there, no, that's it. So yes, so indeed, for now we need to go in the settings and check, let's say, all the different lines. So yes, we check as well. I mean, if we made that use case for every client and every situation, and we see that we can improve the way of doing it, we will. But for now, indeed, that's the way of doing it. Next question from Emilia on LinkedIn. Sounds amazing. Thank you. Two questions. Can we now select the date of the payment, and is Swissdec certificate for V17 as well? So first question about the date of the payment.
I'm not sure. It's in 18. Maybe it is. Okay, it is not in 18 yet, but I think it's in 18 too, where we added the possibility to add a payment date here.
Okay. But still, what we see here, what we did not, let's say, show in the presentation is the fact that you can, on a batch, create a payment report
Yes.
as well.
So I didn't set up bank accounts on my employees, but I can do that. Let me check correct IBAN. Create payment report. We select Swiss ISO because you guys are on a different standard than Europe. Generate, and we have the file here
To be sent to the
that
bank.
you can send to the bank.
Yes, so because we saw a few questions in the chat as well regarding this accounting integration. So yes, I mean, those are both. The first one is the idea, of course, to be able to generate automatically the accounting entry once you confirm the batch. And the second one is to be able to generate the payment report and send it to your bank. So both are possible. So yes, you're going to show it for March. Exactly.
And so you have your journal entry here with all the wages here that you can post in the accounting.
Perfect. Okay, so yes, very easy. Next question from Nadine on LinkedIn again. Comment peut-on actuellement faire la déduction LPP en pourcentage avec et ou sans montant de coordination à déduire en attendant l'adaptation des nouvelles versions Odoo comme tu disais?
Like I said, this is work in progress, and we really want to wait for Swissdec to release the new LPP way of doing stuff, so maybe it will be easier with that. So we kind of have to wait for Swissdec to release the new minor version that handles LPP better to kind of start doing this percentage thing, because maybe there will be a new standard to make that calculation easier.
Yes, so work in progress. Isabel, then on LinkedIn, are you planning to talk about recording in the accounting module? Well, I think we did, so that's good. Next question from Nadine on LinkedIn. Lors de la comptabilisation des salaires sur la part privée véhicule, la TVA doit être calculée également. Est-ce prévu dans de nouvelles versions? Actuellement, c'est pas automatiquement fait, effectivement, à part erreur de sa part.
Yes, for now it's not automatic. There's tricks around it, but this is something that is on my to-do list to handle a bit better. But right now, without tricks, it's not really possible.
I just see before that an answer from Thierry in the chatter of LinkedIn about the 150%.
Yeah.
It's for the nights and the weekend shift.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so we know that. Okay, then from Claudia, dear all, where is the emplacement to put the percentage of LPV? Okay, so I think we got the point. So yes, we are working on it. From Dominic, where and how do you define on which account the wage types are booked?
Like I showed, configuration, wage type, and you have debit and credit accounts here.
But maybe also what you did, let's say during the break, and that we can show them is that let's imagine that you first install the payroll and then you install the accounting. Maybe the link will not be done in between. So
no, normally if you go accounting and you select the Switzerland package, and if you install payroll as well, everything should be installed at the same time, and the wage types should be automatically filled with the debit and credit accounts by default.
Okay, great. And if ever,
if
updating
it didn't
the module
happen,
is a good
if it
idea,
didn't happen, you search for ELM transmission account, and you have this module that if for some reason didn't get installed automatically, you can just install it here, and the link will be made automatically.
Perfect. Good news. Okay, then from Stephen on Twitch, are the other input lines in Payslip supposed to be used for expenses of an employee that are paid by the company and should be showed on the Payslip, or is there some integration that with expense module for this? I don't know much about the expense module.
So as I said, if you have, for example, representation fees that are expenses, as I said, you can either input them in monthly wage type, so you have every month 500, or one-time payments, or in the Payslip, here other inputs are any wage type. It's not specifically expenses, but expenses are in there as well. So you have all the different codes for expenses. So travel, car, etc. Expatriate fees, other expense fees. And for the question about the link with expense module, this will come in 18.3. So this will be done for every localization. Right now, I mean, the link kinda exists, but it's not very robust for Switzerland, so it was disabled here. But on the next version, the idea will be, I don't know if I have it in this database. Maybe go another database. The idea will be that in your expense module, you will be able on expense categories, on the category itself, to add the wage type. So you will have, for example, meal expense, and you will be able to add the wage type related to meal expenses that was here. Which one is it? This, for example. So you will link this with that, and once you input the expense, validated, it will be transferred to the payslip automatically. But this is something that will not be available between 18.3.3.
Yes, because also the expense module in standard is just going to, let's say, link every expense to one, let's say, wage type, but it's called differently in standard. But yes, so we don't have that flexibility that is completely important in that case. Yeah.
Yes, it's an issue because not every expense is the same. Not every expense is treated the same in the salary certificate. They might be in different sections, so we cannot group everything into one. We have to have this flexibility of saying this expense is related to this wage type.
Great. Okay. Then from Thierry, still about the LPP.
Wait.
So this part has been discussed. So still a work in progress to get the percentage amount and not an absolute amount. And then from Jeremy, from the general accounting accounts, it takes a lot of time if you go into each line to set up the accounts. It will be very helpful to have it select multiple lines and to do it with one click.
Can we do that with Studio actually? Like activate the multi-edit?
Yes, we can try. Because you have the right to edit.
Yeah.
So you should be able to do it, yeah.
Let's try in live to hack it.
So on the left, in the view column, here you can enable mass editing. Just below, yes, this one.
Up. And boom.
Okay.
We change the code for everything that you selected. So this is the great thing about Odoo is its flexibility. So of course, since I read the feedback, I know that this might be an annoying issue. We will add this in standard, but if you need it right now, right after this explanation, you can do that with Studio, of course.
Yeah, it's just a setup on the view itself that you can activate or not. Perfect. Okay. I think next question that we have received from Thierry. I mean, still about the same type of question, I think, because I mean, a way to easily change and maybe change the by default account used. I mean, so there is no, let's say, setup for default accounts for now. So maybe this trick can help then to make a filter on one debit account and change it accordingly. But yes, I mean, we'll still be able to work on it afterwards.
Companies, they differ a lot in terms of accounts they use. We put a default one. Maybe if we get a lot of feedbacks about what should be the default one, what should be a better default one, you can send it to us. We will review it and maybe rethink how we did the basic accounts for wage types. Of course, this is something that can be changed very easily. It is not part of the Swissdec stuff, so this is not an issue to change. Okay,
but I see, because he adds something else in the data, which is interesting. He says that it happens at the end of the year, that the salary of December are paid in January, and so that the accounting entry should be different, like because it should be in the passive and not active.
Okay.
But I mean, then in that case, it's also a one shot during the year. So yeah, it should be checked. I mean, yeah, that's up to you, but I guess that's something.
I mean, I'm not the biggest accounting expert, so I might have to consult with other colleagues about that. But
yeah,
we'll check improvements that can be done.
Great. Okay. Well, I think we are done. It's true that usually the Odoo Insider Lives are supposed to last longer, but I
think we talked about everything. We responded to most relevant questions. Of course, any feedback, any question, you can either go to support, or if it's really urgent feedbacks or requests, you can directly contact us by mail, and we will try to take that into account.
And of course, the recording is accessible. You can keep it on your site because it still shows you exactly how to configure the whole, let's say, localization from scratch. We hope it was helpful for you, and yes, and we keep in touch if you want to still discuss it.
Yes.
I see just a question that indeed we forgot about the V17. That is, let's say, is it certified?
Yes, it is certified from V17 up until forever, all the versions that will come. It's the same module, the code is the same everywhere, so it's not an issue on that aspect.
Yes, so 17 is certified.
Which is quite an amazing thing that we did, to go that far back. We could have done it just in master and have it just for people in 19 on SH, for example, but we took the choice to make it available for people that are in 17 as well.
Yeah, which is not usual.
Yeah, really not.
Well, thank you, Jürgen, for your time. I think it was very helpful for all the people who joined us today. So yes, so don't forget, next week you have
Academy, Genève.
Yes, maybe just we can mention it. If you go, like if you want to note, let's say, the next meeting maybe that you can have, just keep in mind that we organize some Odoo academies about payroll in Switzerland that you can join. And just simply, if you go on Odoo event page, here. So it is in French, so you need to type payroll in French, which is pay. And if you do that, you will be able to access, let's say, the next one that are planned. The next one is on the 20th of May, 2025, and you can subscribe from that page to be able to join it. So it will be in Genève, indeed.
And here we do exercises and we answer all the questions, and of course, everything is free.
Exactly. And so yes, and we will be there to help you with that. Great.
Well,
so yes. So
thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for your questions and your feedbacks. And as I said, if you have feedbacks and requests, if enough people make it, we can make it happen. So don't hesitate.
Great. Thank you very much. And then see you next week with Fabien Vinkers. Bye bye.
Bye.